Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Mukam Karoti Vachalam Bangam Langayate Girim Yatrapathamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Paramanandam Shri Chaitanya. Okay, Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone. We are continuing the Kapila Shiksha from Canto 3, chapter 29. So let's look at an overview of this chapter and then we can continue the discussion. Just give me a minute. Let me share my screen. So Mother Devahuti is asking a lot of questions. So if you look at the background, she was very unhappy that when she had that opportunity of associating with such an elevated husband, she did not use it well. So she comes down when Kapiladev, her son, um, extremely qualified, of course, avatar of the Supreme Lord, when he is available for her direct association. So she asks wonderful questions. So we saw some of continuation of those questions in the previous Saturday, on the previous Saturday, right? So we had those questions on can we get more details on bhakti, what is the nature of time, and about the cycle of birth and death. The question number 5 was answered last time on the bhakti, the fundamentals on varna, ashrama, characteristics of a person doing bhakti in the different modes of nature and so on. So that's where we probably ended. I will take it from shloka 21 because that's a logical split. Because from shloka 21 onwards, you will see that while a person is performing his bhakti, there are different modes in performing bhakti. There is also a chance of doing offenses. Offenses basically act as obstacles in our bhakti. There is also a recommended solution by Kapil Dev here, as we see. What we should also understand this, the predominant version of Kapila Shiksha is around the Sankhya philosophy. But you will see there's so much of details on bhakti that is emphasized even here. That's important for us to know because many times people take it for granted. Oh, this is Sankhya, and only Srila Prabhupada actually teachings of Lord Kapila, son of Mother Devahuti. That book, if you see the summary, the entire book talks about bhakti, right? And we still say it is Sankhya philosophy. So we'll see some of that details here today. How, while we are performing bhakti, if there are offenses, what are the things we should be careful about? And who is doing bhakti? So obviously, one of the offenses to differentiate people, but can everyone be equal? So there is a normal gradation of all the different jivas, not only humans. So we'll have a quick look at that. We'll probably look at a summary study of that. And then the nature of time. That is the next question, question number 6 that is answered. This, the portion that we'll start with is actually the continuation of question number 5 on bhakti itself. Okay, so if you're all with me, we can continue. We'll read that shloka. Yeah. Text 21. This is Canto 3, chapter 29. Explanation of devotional service. So, from the Canto, just let us go. Aham sarveshu bhuteshu bhutatma vasthitah sada tam avജ്ञाय mamritya guruter racha vidambadam. Translations and purports by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Translation: I am present in every living entity as the Super Soul. If someone neglects or disregards that Super Soul everywhere and engages himself in the worship of the deity in the temple, that is simply imitation. purport, it's a small purport, we can read this. In purified consciousness or Krishna consciousness, one sees the presence of Krishna everywhere. Therefore, if one only engages in deity worship in the temple and does not consider other living entities, then he is in the lowest grade of devotional service. One who worships a deity in the temple and does not show respect to others is a devotee on the material platform in the lowest stage of devotional service. A devotee should try to understand everything in relationship with Krishna and try to serve everything in that spirit. To serve everything means to engage everything in the service of Krishna. If a person is innocent and does not know his relationship with Krishna, an advanced devotee should try to engage him in the service of Krishna. One who is advanced in Krishna consciousness can engage not only the living beings but everything in the service of Krishna. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Taptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमः ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Okay, Hare Krishna. Well, so we are in this place where we are going to talk about how a devotee in devotional service can tend to do offenses which can actually act as obstacles for our devotion, for our bhakti. So first thing is I'm present in every living entity as a super soul. Obviously, we know he's the Paramatma. If someone neglects or disregards that super soul everywhere and engages himself in the worship of the deity in the temple, that is simply imitation. So what does the Lord say here? The Lord says, see, I am present in all living entities. I am the Paramatma. If you do not respect the living entities, but think only the Archa Vigraha the or the deities in the temple are only the deities are important, or I will serve only the deities, that is incomplete understanding. So whatever you do is just an imitation. When you say imitation here, it means that you do not have the full understanding. So you're just doing because someone else is doing. Many times we do that, right? So many times the children learn this way, saying that, okay, my father is doing this or my mother is doing this. I will also do the bhoga offering in front of the Lord, or I will also chant. I will do kirtan, or I will play the kartal. The children are very interested, but they're, I mean, I'm talking about 3, 4, 5-year-old kids, right? So they may not have full understanding. And if we call ourselves devotees and we continue to differentiate on that platform, then we are also on the lower level. We also do not have the understanding. And in the purport, if you see, and in the purport, if you see, thank you, Prabhu. Srila Prabhupada mentions one who worships a deity in the temple and does not show respect to the others is a devotee on the material platform. He is still a devotee, but he still is on the lowest stage of devotional service. Okay. As we progress, we'll have this Pandita Samadarshana concept. There was, I'm sure that was touched on last time as well. So we'll continue to see that because a set of shlokas is dedicated to this understanding. So we'll see a little bit more of this. So a devotee, what does he do? He tries to understand that everything is in connection, in relationship with Krishna. So it's not only the living beings, we also see everything that can be used in Krishna's service. Right? So many times devotees debate saying that, oh, should the devotee even have a mobile phone, especially the brahmacharis, the youth boys, because the boys or girls who it is, right? So when we say, mobile phone is extremely distracting, one of the things you should definitely, or we should definitely not do, or I should definitely not do is when I'm chanting, have a mobile phone with me in my hand, right? So why? Because it's extremely distracting. Does it mean that I will not have a mobile phone or a smartphone or be on a social media? Not necessary. Today, I mean, thanks to wonderful devotees, we are connecting using all the digital platforms it is possible. Even now, early morning that we are collecting, we are not sitting with each other. So there is a digital medium. Some of you are probably on mobile phone. Some of us are on the laptop, right? So we can use everything in Krishna's service. I remember this Srila Prabhupada's incident, right? So when Srila Prabhupada got off in a foreign land and the Rolls Royce was waiting to pick him up and he went out, he was about to get into the Rolls Royce and the news reporters and others who were there, they started asking Srila Prabhupada, uh, Swamiji, how is it that you're using a Rolls Royce? You're supposed to be a renounced person. You're in saffron. We have heard that you have no attachment to anything, but you're using a Rolls Royce. And Srila Prabhupada replied, Krishna sent it. If there's a Rolls Royce available for Krishna service, I will use it. If I have to work for Krishna service, I will work. And he just didn't say this, right? So he actually lived that way. So if you look at the early days before he actually took the Jaladuta, he had walked so many kilometers just to get the books published or have the Back to God magazine published. He would walk because that money he could use either for the bus or for printing, either for eating or for printing. He said, no, it is for Krishna service. He would use it for printing. And he would collect donation by selling the books or giving those books. He would get the donations. He will use the donation to print more books. So I will use everything in Krishna's service. If we have that attitude, if we have that mindset, then we are advancing in Krishna consciousness. Okay. We don't need to, we need to engage everyone. We'll see that point a little later here as well. Yomam sarveshu bhuteshu santam atmanam ishwaram hitvarcham bhajate maudyad basmani eva jyoti saha. One who worships the demigods of, one who worships the deity of Godhead in the temples, but does not know that the Supreme Lord as Paramatma is situated in every living entity's heart, must be in ignorance as compared to one who offers oblations into the ashes. Like Srila Prabhupada mentions, when we offer something in the Yagna Kunda, we offer to the fire, because yajna is the mouth of the Lord and the fire is that accepting potency, right? So when we offer something, we actually offer. If the yajna is over and there's only ashes, and I'm now offering wonderful items into the ashes, what is the point? It is useless, right? So a person who does that, he must to be in the mode of ignorance. Like that, I know that there is deity, I know there is worship of the deity, but I ignore everything else or everyone else, or I do not consider the deity to be living. All this is useless in my devotional service. Okay. Therefore, persons who profess to belong to some religious sect, but who do not feel the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in every living entity and everywhere else, are in the mode of ignorance. One simply attaches himself to the rituals in a temple, church, or mosque. It is as if he were offering butter into the ashes rather than into the fire. So many of us, I'm sure you can relate to yourself, but I've grown up in a family which is extremely pious, extremely ritualistic, with almost no knowledge of why we are doing those activities. Right. So right from the morning, uh, I've seen my grandparents do it, my parents do it, my mom does it. So they would put the rangoli in the house, they would keep everything neat. They would actually lamp, light the lamp in the puja room, which is filled with, um, some 33 crore demigods plus 20, 30 false gurus and blah blah blah. They will they will do everything. From morning, Suprabhatam will be playing on one side. There is some impersonalism playing on TV. It just ritualistically doing everything because my parents did, their parents did, their parents did. There is no understanding. Even if we do that ritualistically, we are still in the mode of ignorance because our intelligence is not triggered. And this is not with respect to only our uh, so-called Hinduism or whatever it is, right? So across any religion, it could be, if they're just following it as a ritual, if they, array, the first year, within the first year, I have to do mundan or shave my child's head. By the second year, I need to pierce their ears, or by first whatever 3 months, I need to give a namakaran. See, these rituals are extremely important. The samskaras are extremely important. If we understand the spirit behind these rituals, then it becomes spiritual. That's why all our ritualistic activities actually had the concept of hearing, hearing the glories of that activity. We should do that, right? So otherwise, people just visit different temples, different dham, knowingly, unknowingly. Oh, there is a new golden temple here. There is a new building here. For them, everything becomes very ritualistic. In other words, a devotee should not ignore any living entity. The devotee must know that in every living entity, however insignificant he may be, even in an ant, God is present, and therefore every living entity should be treated kindly and should not be subjected to any violence. So here, the importance of other jivas is given. Jiva daya is one of the most important quality of a Vaishnava. Okay, so we need to. So in the previous sloka also we saw it's the importance of, as we progress in Krishna consciousness, as we become devotees, it is our responsibility, it is our duty. It's not optional. It's a duty to give this knowledge to others. And Srila Prabhupada talks about not only the living entities, but also to see the knowledge we can do, the preaching we can do for uh, other human living entities, for that matter, who are interested to hear. But even the other kind of living entities. Srila Prabhupada, in one of the purports, if not here, in one of the other purports, he actually mentions that even the lizards and the rats in the house, they should be fed sufficiently by the grahastha. It is the responsibility. Like that. So when we are chanting, we actually chant loud enough so that whatever are the living entities around us, the gradations we will see in a bit, but they are also benefited by hearing the holy name. The best of things that I have seen in ISKCON happen is that almost every devotee in their house has this Prabhupada dhun, right? So we have this dhun, or this music box that's continuously playing the Hare Krishna mantra, either in the chanting form of Srila Prabhupada or in the singing form, whatever it is. The Hare Krishna mantra is continuously going on, right? So we give that kind of a importance to every living entity. We uh, chant loud enough. And Srila Prabhupada says we should definitely not commit violence to anyone. Unfortunately, modern society is filled with violence, and they have these slaughterhouses. Slaughterhouses are something that is extremely fake and false. It's like extremely fallen, and they are fully in the mode of ignorance. So continuing on the importance for the living entity, one who offers me respect but is envious of the bodies of others is therefore a separatist, never attains peace of mind because of his inimical behavior towards other living entities. So here, if you see, there are two important pieces, right? So Srila Prabhupada also mentions in the purpose, inimical towards others and envious of others' body. Okay, so this can be this, predominantly in this case we are looking at human bodies. We are uh, inimical towards others, so we are envious towards other living entities. The reason why we are in the material world, the only reason why we are in the material world is our enviousness towards the Lord. If I understand the Lord is supreme and He can fulfill all my desires, why will I have material desires? My desire will be to serve him. So there is some amount of enviousness that is there in all of us, which is the reason why we are here, most of us, or at least me, saying that, "Arey, if I have to serve, then I'm a servant. Where will I become enjoyer? Why, when will I become enjoyer? How will I become enjoyer? Right? So whenever there is this requirement for service, whenever there is glorification of someone else, Arey, that person, no, is he's actually a nice devotee like everyone else. But he becomes angry. But this person, whenever we use but, that shows that we are envious. The word but is our typical quality of envy. And you can yourself see how many times you use a but when you're talking about other devotees. Arey, today the kirtan was very nice, Prabhuji. Prabhuji. Yes, yes, the kirtan was very nice, but it was very loud, no? The kirtaniya doesn't understand. The moment but comes in, you're envious. I know I can also do good kirtan, just that he was asked to do kirtan today. This happens in everywhere. Oh, today there was today, of course, there is Snan Yatra, real Snan Yatra. So in the temple today, we are cooking the Rajbhog. But usually when the Rajbhog happens, we say, okay, we do Chapan Bhog or we do a lot of items. So Rajbhog variety was very nice. Little, this one was salty, this one was bland. Why? But if the Lord is accepted, why are we finding fault? Yes, of course, if you are in a position to find fault or to correct people, you are in that kind of a position, then it's okay. But generally, avoid that thing that you will find fault with someone else. And again, we are talking about offenses here, though not directly calling it out that way, but this is one of the biggest offense. I am not even saying Vaishnava, not going into the fact that that person is taken an offense or you have meant to offend that person. You have been casual in your approach that can become offensive and that can affect your sadhana. So whenever we are doing service, we should not be scared of offenses that I don't do service, but be careful when we are doing service that we do not disregard or do not disrespect someone else service to whatever capacity they have done. Okay, so that's there. Whenever you separate it out, whenever you look at living and ये तो क्या है? This is a normal person, this is a godly person, or I am serving the deity. When you have any kind of pride or ignorance towards others, you ignore others, that means you're on the bodily designations, right? So you are considering yourself important, your body is important. There are some points from the purport that I have highlighted, which I feel is important for discussion. But please understand that each word of Srila Prabhupada's purport is extremely important. So just because we have limited time, I will cover whatever I could, but please go back and read. So it is expressed herein that the Lord is always eager to deliver the conditioned souls who have been engaged within material bodies. Devotees are expected to carry the message or desire of the Lord to such conditioned souls and enlighten them with Krishna consciousness. So if, like I said, it is not optional. Preaching is not optional. Serving uh, devotees is not optional. We are in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement. It is, I think Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur mentioned this, like, if you have life, you can preach. Whatever is opportunity you have. You can tell your children, you can tell your spouse, you can tell your parents, you can run a Bhakti Vriksha, you can come to the temple. Today we have Jagat Shakshi Prabhu. He can do a Pandal program, right? So that is left to you. The Lord will provide you the opportunity, but you are expected to carry the message. And that is what? That's the desire of the Lord. And our entire life or our entire creation is meant for the pleasure of the Lord. So if there is a desire for the Lord, we should, I mean, it's typical, right? So if someone has got a comment, please let me know. Otherwise, please stay on mute. Getting a feedback. So if there are just take a simple example. If there is this parent and he's got four children, all four children love the parent, and the parent says that mujhe ek glass pani de dena, right? So give me a glass of water. So everyone is like, I will get you, I will get you, right? So, and here the Lord says, this is my desire. How eager should we be to actually fulfill that desire, whatever it takes, right? So we will actually do this desire. So I'm not envious, but always feel so wonderful that Sri Hari, Sridhar Prabhu is running a program every day just for the pleasure of the Lord, right? So pleasure of Jagannath, pleasure of his Guru, my Guru as well. But yes, so that should be our mode. How do we please the Lord? Do what the Lord is asking. And this is something that he's already told in Bhagavad Gita, saying the best person is the one who propagates this message to others. If you want to be that favorite devotee, favorite person for the Lord, Lord actually says that I'm equal to everyone, but I have my favorites, right? So Lord says that he also has a but. So we need to be, if you want to be in that position, then take the mission of the Lord, take the mission of the Guru, take the mission of Srila Prabhupada. So that's an opportunity that we have. We don't have an excuse. Even living entities who are lower than human beings can be raised to Krishna consciousness by other methods. Example, Shivanand Sena, a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya, delivered a dog by feeding him prasad. So we all know this, right? So Shivanand Sena would actually bring a huge set of devotees to meet Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he had already taken up sannyas and was staying in Puri. So every Rath Yatra, they walk all the way from Bengal, Navadvip, today's Bangladesh, around that area. The devotees would all come together, and Shivanand Sena would be the leader. He would bring them to Jagannath Rath Yatra. We'll also have Rath Yatra shortly. So they will come there and they will get association of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When he would come, he would actually cross different states, right? So different kingdoms. Like we had the today's Bengal, and then we have the Odisha. They would cross across borders and reach. So there used to be a dog that would actually follow through. And Shivanand Sena's responsibility as the Yatra leader would make sure that everyone is comfortable, everyone is fed well. Would also make sure that the dog is also getting the prasad. Okay, then the story goes on and says, actually the Lord gets to meet Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and actually the Lord gets delivered. We don't need to keep a dog at home. Please, that's not the message here. We don't need to keep a dog as a pet or any pet for that matter. We just need to be compassionate towards other living entities. We actually have a story of Srila Prabhupada, wherein Srila Prabhupada is on his morning walk. There is a dog that's lying down, extremely weak, whatever. Srila Prabhupada passes, it's just looking at Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada says, hut, and the dog kind of smiles and just moves away from the place. Actually, the dog lifts its body. Prabhupada delivers a dog as well. It is said, but these are not very common, but you hear about Prabhupada memories, you will hear these kind of pastimes, right? So, like I said, even the lizards and the ants at home, it's a responsibility to take care of them. And the best way to do that is the holy name that we are chanting loudly enough. It's not only my hearing, other living entities can also get to hear and get delivered. Prabhupada box again. We'll move on. My dear mother, even if he worships with proper rituals and paraphernalia, a person who is ignorant of my presence in all living entities never pleases me by the worship of my deities in the temple. Right? So the real purpose is to exhibit one's loving devotion to the Lord. The offerings themselves are secondary. If one has not developed loving devotion to the Lord and simply offers many kinds of foodstuff, fruits, or flowers without real devotion, the offering will not be accepted by the Lord. Yoma bhaktya prayachati, right? So the person, patram pushpam phalam toya yome bhaktya, right? So that bhakti means what? Srila Prabhupada always meant loving devotional service. Bhakti is not devotion, loving devotional service. So obviously there is service and there is love in that activity. So that's when it becomes, we cannot bribe the Lord, right? So many people think that, okay, I will go to Tirupati, Tirumala, and then I will put so much in the box. It is good, it's not wrong, but I will put this, you give me this. That is wrong. Don't do business with the Lord. He is in not need of anything that you want, you can give other than your love for Him. Does it mean that I will not give anything? Obviously, you have to give again as a duty or a responsibility. We'll actually talk about charity in a bit because it's actually coming up. We simply offer to show our love and gratitude to the Lord. That is our fundamental. And how do we show our love to the Lord? By doing what pleases the Lord. But the devotee who wants to elevate himself to the higher level of understanding must know that the Lord is present in every living entity. And as stated in the previous verse, one should be compassionate to other living entities. Why is Srila Prabhupada reiterating this? Right, so many times you will see in the Shastras, there are some quotes or quotations or some statements that are repeatedly coming. It is not because there are lack of words, it's because the importance of emphasizing it. Oh, you missed it in second chapter, now read it in third chapter. You missed it in third chapter, read it in the fifth chapter. The repetition is to emphasize this is important, this is important, this is important. If you look at Bhagavad Gita itself, you will see that by the time you are done with your first five chapters, you know that service to the Lord is the most important thing. Then again, your seventh chapter and eighth chapter talks about Bhakti Yoga. Then again, ninth chapter says this is the topmost knowledge, Rajavidya. You come to the 10th chapter, Krishna starts off saying that, hey Arjuna, I'm going to tell you something more than what you have heard so far. I again repeats the importance of bhakti, right? So it continuously keeps coming to re-emphasize this point. So here this point is important, saying that we look at every living entity and understand that the Lord is present in all of them. If you look at Bhagavad Gita, you'll understand this, right? Pandita Samadarshana. Pandita sees a dog eater, an elephant, a cow, everyone equal because there is the Lord in there is Jiva and there is Paramatma, and the body is just temporary, but the Jiva takes on multiple bodies or gets elevated because this is eternal servant of the Lord. Jiva Swarupai Nityara Krishna Das. That's the position of the Jiva. And as we progress, we should respect everyone in on that platform. They can offend us, they can tell anything about us. We should never offend others. Also, a very wonderful quality that I have heard, difficult to implement, but I have heard, is we always tell do not offend others, right? So do not offend Vaishnavas. The Lord doesn't like, the Guru doesn't like, your bhakti is completely killed and so on. That is one way to look at it, right? Yes, I should not offend. That's a good learning. There is also another angle to look at it. When someone is telling anything about you, which is offensive in nature, do not take offense. The moment you take offense, that person's bhakti is anyway. Arey, how could he tell this? Today he told me that I should not have done this. Why did he tell? The moment you start thinking like that, who becomes important? You become important. Your pride becomes important. अरे मेरा पोजीशन जानता है, you asked me to do this, how could you ask me to serve or clean this area? So you, that immediately becomes you have taken an offense for that person's statement. Never take offense, or try to never take offense. That's also Vaishnava quality. Offending, do not offend, yes. Do not take offense is equally important. Okay, we'll continue. A devotee should worship the Supreme Lord. Be friendly to persons who are on the same level and be compassionate to the ignorant. Actually, you will see in many scriptures, especially in Srimad Bhagavatam, this different levels of association is mentioned, right? So uh, we all understand the importance of devotee association. Even in an association, there are different grades. If you see in our association, there is the first level of association is we take association of senior Vaishnavas. We by serving them nicely and by hearing from them, taking instructions from them, and whatever service we can do to them by for pleasing them. That's taking association of elders or senior Vaishnavas. We take association of our peers. How do we take association of our peers? By again serving them, but in this case through conversations, through helping them in their service, or telling them how they could help you in your service to the Lord. That is also a service, right? Engaging someone else in the service is also a service. It's not wrong, right? But in peers, you actually have conversations, you can debate, you can argue, right? On pointers, not on people, right? Always talk about the point, or philosophical point, or issues, whatever. Talk about the point, not about the person. Talking about the person is offensive. Talking about the point is you're trying to understand or trying to find solutions. It can be tattva related, it can be incident related. So we take association of peers by having this kind of a friendly relationship, going on a yatra, serving each other. That becomes something that you take association with peers. And there is taking taking or rather giving association for someone who is still developing Krishna consciousness. Okay, it is being compassionate to other living entities. Sometimes we would see, I have seen personally, that that person has started Krishna consciousness maybe in the last 1 year, 2 years, and they are progressing so wonderfully. I've been sitting here for 15 years. My Krishna consciousness is going so slow, and this person is doing so much enthusiastically, right? They might be newcomers. They might have so much potency, and there's the devotional percentage would be lot higher, maybe lot higher than us. For us, this might be the first or second lifetime that we have come in. They might have spent lifetimes after lifetimes. We become an instrument in bringing them in. We become an instrument in giving them association, giving them service. So be compassionate towards others who are still not on this platform. There's 3 levels of association, where you take association, we share association, and we give association. In each case, we are benefited eternally. Okay, selfishness, not wrong. We are selfish because we want to serve the Lord, and we want to get out of this messy material world. That's okay. That selfishness is not wrong. Okay, we'll continue. Performing his prescribed duties, one should worship the deity of the Supreme Personality of Godhead until one realizes my presence in his own heart and in the hearts of other living entities. So we are concluding this particular portion, right? So the offenses portion, it says, see, we have told you do deity worship, but do not give respect to others. You do deity worship, but consider the deity to be stone. All these are offensive, but you can continue to do the worship of the deities until you realize that the presence of the Lord everywhere, including in the deity form of the Lord. So worship of the deity of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is prescribed herewith, even for persons who are simply discharging their prescribed duties. So when I said we are doing ritualistically, our parents, grandparents example and everything, do not stop them. Do not tell them, hey, you know what? You should not do all this. It is better to do, deity worship in some form or other, serving the Lord in some form or other, knowingly, unknowingly, whatever, than not doing it at all. Okay, so they will eventually progress. They will actually be able to get to a situation so wherein they will be able to discharge their duties with love, and you can be the instrument, right? So we know we should give them association, we should give ourselves that association required from senior Vaishnavas to progress. Okay, it talks about varnashrama here, and from this syllabus I do understand varnashrama has already been discussed earlier, so I will skip that part, but I'm hoping all of us are clear. Varnas and ashramas are meant for us to serve the Lord in whatever capacity we are in. I'm born in a particular varna, or I've taken a particular ashrama. It gives me a possibility of serving the Lord better, right? So if you're a brahmachari, you can continue to remain a brahmachari. If you want to become a grihastha, yes, become a grihastha. Both of you serve nicely. You'll have wonderful children. Engage the children also in service of the Lord. You take vanaprastha, you become a preacher, you become a donor, you become someone who actually is spreading the message of the Lord. You travel to different dhams, take people on a yatra, whatever. Vanaprastha stage. Of course, sannyasis don't have a choice, but they are wonderful people who are serving the Lord. So at each stage, actually have the opportunity to serve the Lord. It is not that one who has become a devotee of the Lord or who engages in devotional service should give up his prescribed duties. No one should be lazy under the plea of devotional service, one has to execute devotional service according to his prescribed duties. So all of us here are chanting our Hare Krishna mantra in the morning. Wow, how many times you are doing? 16 rounds, 8 rounds, 32 rounds, whatever is our capacity. What is the purpose of that? We are begging the Lord. Every bead that moves, we are requesting the Lord, please engage me in your service. Please engage me in your service. Please engage me in your service. That's what we're doing. No, my dearest Srimati Radharani, oh energy of the Lord, please engage me in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We are begging for service. And then after finishing the round, we put the bead and someone calls, hey Prabhu, today there's no one for cooking, or Mataji, there's no one for doing garland service. Can you please come? No, I'm a little busy. Arey, you have begged for 2 hours for service, got an opportunity for service. Now you're finding excuses for not doing service. Arey, I have to travel 10 kilometers to go to the temple. Tomorrow is Panihati. Oh, Panihati, I have to go Sunday. Full Sunday is gone. From morning 6 o'clock I start, night 9 o'clock only I'll return. Excuses in Krishna consciousness are the saddest part. Don't be lazy under the plea of devotional service. That, oh, I have to finish my sadhana, I will not do service. Your sadhana service is also sadhana. Yes, someday we'll not be able to hear, someday we'll not be able to read Bhagavatam or whatever is your committed reading. Someday we may not be able to do it. But that is because I'm busy in service. Right? So that should be our situation. We should be eager to do service, right? So service is the one that keeps us going. Okay, we'll move on to the next part. We'll actually understand the different gradations of jivas. We are in shloka number 26. Just give me a minute. Let me go to the Shubodhini. Start from 28 in Shubodhini. There we will actually do a summary of the gradations so that we can move quickly. There are 3 wonderful topics here. So we have finished the first one. We'll just wrap it up. As the blazing fire of death, I cause fear, great fear to whoever makes the least discrimination between himself and other living entities because of a differential outlook. Okay, so you differentiate, you distinguish people based on their social, economical situations, whatever it is, the Lord definitely does not like. They have got a body depending on a lot of parameters. You have got one depending on whatever parameters. So do not look down to anyone at any point in time. Right? So the super soul and super soul are equally present in all variety of living entities. Why are we talking about living entities? The sarva bhuteshu, right? So in all living entities, who is present? The Supreme Lord. Therefore, through charitable gifts and attention, as well as through friendly behavior and by viewing all to be alike, one should propitiate me, who abide in all creatures as their very self. The Lord says, I'm in all the jivas, you respect them with love, right? So this method of worshipping the individual is described here by either giving charitable gifts or behaving in a friendly manner, free from any separatist outlook. We have already covered the separatist outlook, where I differentiate between the different living entities, differentiate between the Lord and the living entities, and so on. And this charitable gifts is very a nice thing, right? So whenever you are in association of devotees, you should know how best I can serve them, because serving the devotee pleases the Lord. We all know this, right? So I was hearing in a class, I like this example, so I'll repeat it. This charity is a nice uh, situation to get into, right? So whenever someone asks us charity donation, specifically even in the temple, we look at what is my minimum that I should give to get over it, right? There is a seva list that's come up saying that these are the 10 available sevas for Rath Yatra. I look at, okay, I want to do seva. Obviously, I should do seva, because if I don't do seva, people will question, or my consciousness will question. So it should, if it's not. So I pick up one seva. I look at, okay, this seva looks like it's only 508 rupees. Let me pick this up. Kuch to dena padega, let me give something. And when it comes to eating prasadam, It's a typical of us, right? So, Arey Prabhu, can I get one more rasgulla? Can can I get little bit more? Can I pack something? अरे चलो दबा के तो खाएंगे. Let me not pack. What have I done is the same thing. Both are service, right? So in one service, I've looked at the least common denominator. In the other service, I've looked at the highest possible option, right? So the situation should be not reversed, should be the same for all situations. Do the highest that is possible. When we take Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's example, he would feed devotees. It's mentioned, right? So the Kundicha Martana example, where it says, "Arey, the devotees were fed so much that in each one's plate, it was about 10 people's worth of food." And Mahaprabhu will, obviously, devotees don't waste a grain of food, prashadam, right? So he would feed them so well. And when it comes to Kundicha Marjana, when cleaning up the temple, they would clean it so very wonderfully, right? So very nicely. And they would put all their efforts, their brain into that service. None of our service should be just mechanical. We should put our intelligence in trying to do it very nicely. And I think I already covered it, saying very carefully. And the same thing applies to a charity. When I'm giving charity, when I'm not the one giving charity, right? So it's my service, right? It's my responsibility. When I'm doing it, I should look at what's the best thing I can do. What is the best thing I can afford to do? And if the best thing is 508, it's okay. Best thing is 8 rupees, 10 rupees in the hundi, that's okay. If my best thing can be 50,008, then I need to do that. That is where my intelligence comes in. And this is also when we are dealing with other devotees. When you're visiting devotees, ideally, if you see when the devotees are coming to your house, or they're meeting you, they would actually carry either some prashadam, some narsima oil, some Srila Prabhupada book, right? So something we give, and we build that relationship that is there in Nectar of Instructions. I'll not go in there, but how do we do that? That Preeti Lakshanam story, shloka. You can go ahead and look at what are the 6 ways that association can be wonderful between devotees. Compassion and friendliness do not necessitate falsely elevating someone to an exalted position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We should not at the same time misunderstand that the super soul situated in the heart of an animal like a hog and the super soul situated in the heart of a learned Brahmana are different. So sometimes, uh, out of my ego, I tell Prabhu, there is just no one like you. You are God. Swamiji, you are just like so and so. So don't put someone on a false platform because you need some work to be done from them. And in Ukush Rakunga to, I will be happy. Typically within the society, I'm saying. Outside, though, obviously, if someone is pretending God, then you can call it out. But even here, don't elevate someone to a position that they are not there. But for that matter, don't do fault finding. Right? So we have already discussed it. And the Jiva and the Paramatma in all bodies is actually equal. That's why it says Lord Brahmana Pandita Samadarshina. Again, that point is coming. Let's move on. These shlokas from 28 onwards, they actually talk about different gradations of living entities. What we will do, I'm hoping my full screen is visible. Is my Shubhodini visible, Prabhu? Can someone confirm?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, no, we are seeing the purport Word document. We are not seeing
Okay.
someone. So.
Thank you for confirming, Prabhu. Just give me a minute. Let me just share the Shubhodini. Okay, is it visible?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. So the set of 7 shlokas here actually talks about the different gradations. I thought instead of, because there's not much purport, but it actually talks about the different living entities. We have been telling we should be compassionate towards living entities. So we can quickly go through this logic, right? So first is the inanimate object, the zero consciousness, which is not what we want to go to, but again, that's the beginning point. Then there are living entities, immovable living entities. Okay, jadas, basically like the trees, for example, entities with greater life symptoms. Again, the trees, but they have greater life symptoms, and developed consciousness. You know that who's that scientist? Bose, right? So no, forgetting. How can I? Okay. Anyway, he's proved that the trees also have consciousness. They also have feelings. Okay. Then living entities with sense perceptions. All of us have sense perceptions, but on the gradation, the one that cannot move, little consciousness, further consciousness, and senses, different senses, being with touch sensation. This is typical, wherein you can, when they can feel you. Okay, touch is the first one, the feeling. Then comes with taste sensation. So not all trees are taste sensation. Again, I'm going to trees because the rest of the examples that are there are more grosser, which not easily available for us. But being with taste sensation, right? Living entities that have a taste, then the living entities that can smell, and living entities that can hear. When we say a living entity that can hear, that means that the previous conditions are all possible, right? So it can move, it can touch, it can taste, it can smell, and also hear. Beings who have distinguished forms, right? So it can be animals, or it can be anything. Entities with two sets of trees, or teeth, like the jaws that we have, like all the animals have. Beings with many legs. So these are your 84 lakh species. You have seen the different cuts, right? So Jalajana Lakshani, Stavara Lakshvimshati, and so on, right? So these are living entities with many legs. Living entities, typically the insects and the worms, and they usually have more than four legs. Then the four-legged animals, coming to something that we are more familiar with. It could be the elephant, the lions, the tigers, or the dogs, or whoever it is. Humans with two legs. They're supposed to be elevated in this chain. These are gradations. It's the elevations that are happening. So human beings with two legs, that's supposed to be us to start with. Then non-varnashrama human beings. So we know the varnas and the ashramas, right? So when we say Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, these are humans in varnashrama. Oh, okay. That means they follow the Vedic rituals. Vedic, they follow the Vedic system. There are human-like forms. That means two-handed, two-legged. When it says two-legged, it was even two-handed. They are yeah. So the non-varnashrama human beings are basically the mlechas, the yavanas, the chandalas, and so on. They don't follow the Vedic system, right? So for those days, it's even said that if you're born in India and you travel anywhere outside the Indian uh, oceans, right? You go outside the Indian subcontinent, you actually are fallen. So you come back. The parents would say before you enter the house, go take a dip in Ganga and then come enter the house, or Kaveri, or wherever you are. You take a bath before you enter the house. You have got contaminated because you have connected with people outside the Varnashrama system. Well, no, I know someone whose parents do it, and this person actually studied in the US. He was one of my senior managers. So when he returned back to his village, um, he after his studies, he actually was told you take a dip in the lake or the river that was there in the village before you enter into the village premises, not only the house. So that is there. In the Varnashrama system, obviously the elevated people are supposedly the Brahmanas. Here it is qualified Brahmanas. If you go further, Brahmanas who know the Vedas, Brahma Janatiti Brahmana. So he knows Brahman, he knows the Supreme Lord. Then Brahmana who knows meaning of the Vedas. So it's not, so people who know, sometimes they call themselves, I'm a Vedantist, or I know the Vedas, but are you qualified? The person who knows, earlier they would get designations, Dvivedi, Trivedi, Chaturvedi, these surnames which are common today. Dvivedi is someone who knows two Vedas, Trivedi is three Vedas, Chaturvedi is all the four Vedas. That is how the surnames would come. The Goswamis, so it was a surname. Today, sorry, it was not a surname, it was a qualification. It was a designation that they used to get. Today it's become a surname. There is this Goswami who goes into the hotels and eats non-veg. Goswami is control of senses is supposedly fully controlled. What is he when he bakes principles, right? So the elevation goes to Brahmanas who know the meaning of the Vedas, Brahmanas who can dispel doubts. There is a small purport to this in Srila Prabhupada's this one purport of this, wherein he says that the qualification comes when you know the Vedas, but you're also going into a situation where you are able to give that knowledge to others. And someone has a doubt or a question, you're able to clarify that. That should be the qualification that you have. The Brahmanas who also follows his duty. Brahmanas have definitely duty, at least towards the deities they're supposed to do, and also towards preaching. Then comes the liberated souls. Liberated souls are, who are now completely connected with the Lord. So my designation, material designations don't need to stay. I don't need to follow the sadhana and so on. Like uh, there's this wonderful devotee who says, "Oh my dear Gayatri, please excuse me. My dear sadhana, please excuse me. I just, in the love of God, I'll not be able to do these things. So we're not in that situation. So all the rituals, they are not worried about. The sadhana is a little different. They are in a liberated state. So we don't know who is in what stage. So when sometimes devotees ask question, oh, you know, this person is always so busy. This guru is always so busy. When does he do his sadhana? Does he read Srila Prabhupada books? Do they do the chanting at all? Don't even doubt that. Though they are in liberated stage, they will actually, they are more curiously continuing their sadhana. And then comes the stage of a pure devotee or a pure Vaishnava who is dedicated his life for service of the Lord. So these are the different gradations. We quickly covered, but we kind of understand these gradations as explained by Kapila Dev to his mother Devhuti. This was 28 to 34. We will continue. We just have a few minutes left. We'll go back to our Word document. Is the purport visible, Prabhu?
No, Prabhuji, we are seeing Subodhini.
My bad. Okay. Hopefully sharing my entire screen. So yeah, these two shlokas we can continue. So there's also Maya Arpita Mano Buddhir kind of a shloka. Therefore, I do not find a greater person than he who has no interest outside of mine, and who therefore engages and dedicates all his activities and all his life, everything unto me without cessation. Each part is important, right? So greater person, there is no outside interest, right? So my only interest is the Supreme Lord, and engages and dedicates all his activities for the Lord. Okay, that is true. I engage everything for the Lord continuously without cessation, without taking a break. Right? So there is no break in service to the Lord. There can't be laziness crept in. Yes, tiredness, yes. Oh, many times this happens, right? So after a big festival, maybe a Rath Yatra, maybe tomorrow's Paniyati, maybe the Janmashtami, we should be so busy. So this is what I learned when I was very new in Krishna consciousness. There was a wonderful devotee who was giving a class. I was hearing the class and says, when you go to bed, my dear devotees, fifth minute you should fall asleep. That means you have been fully busy in devotion. So I was saying, Arey, I go to office, I come back home tired in Bangalore traffic. Fifth minute, 10th minute, I fall. No, it means you're busy in service. And when you're on yatra, you actually can realize you come back from Govardhan Parikrama or you have gone with devotees full day, you have heard everything, you had your prasadam, you come back to the room, you know that you want to keep your dress ready for tomorrow morning because 4 o'clock you're in Vrindavan, you're in Mayapur, you're supposed to be out in the Manglarti by 4 o'clock. So you keep your dress ready, you come to bed and like, oh, yeah, acha hua, Mataji, this was nice, whatever you're talking to some devotee, suddenly you know that you have slept off, your alarm is hitting at 3 o'clock. That should be your busy. That's how busy you should be. And you can see this on big festival days, right? So you just go to bed, you sleep off, and that means without cessation. That means you have served the Lord continuously. It should look for opportunity to serve the Lord continuously. Okay, such a perfect devotee, just explained, right? Without deviation, without any other thing, everything favorable to the situation. Everything that I do is favorable for my devotional service, and I do it continuously. Such a perfect devotee offers respect to every living entity because he's under the firm conviction that the Supreme Personality of God has entered the body of every living entity as the super soul or controller. Now we can ask ourselves, am I respecting everyone? That's the expectation that we have as we are called perfect devotees. Am I still finding that? But do I still have my enviousness? If you can't appreciate the other devotee's service wholeheartedly, then there is something still lacking in us. Glorifying a devotee is an opportunity for us to actually offer service to the devotee. Not every time we can do physical service, not every time there will be a need. So we should be very mindful of it. And it should not be fake. Please understand. It's not that, oh, Prabhu, you're always like this, Prabhu. You're wonderful, Prabhu. No, it can't be fake. It should be genuine and it can be continuous. So don't do it for any other motive. If I appreciate the president of the temple, so next time I go, I will get an extra, whatever. Usually, Ankul Keshav Prabhu is nice. He keeps giving prasadam to devotees, or maybe I'll get a bigger mango. I should never have that expectation when I'm doing service or appreciating other devotees, but you should be able to give respect to every devotee, irrespective if they're doing service or not. A perfect devotee does not make the mistake of thinking that because the Supreme Lord is entered as Paramatma in every living entity has become the Supreme Lord. Even that we should not do, right? So we are we are not God. Neither are we, something very fallen. We are jivas who have unfortunately fallen, but the Lord element is there in us, taking us back. My dear mother, or daughter of Manu, a devotee who applies the science of devotional service and mystic yoga in this way can achieve the abode of the Supreme Person simply by that devotional service. So, just concluding on this topic, saying that if you do all this, you become a perfect devotee, you're back to home, back to God. It is guaranteed. It's not acceptable for one to be satisfied simply by practicing the sitting posture and thinking himself complete. The meditating one must attain the stage of devotional service. Even for a yogi, devotional service is important. There's some more details on by meditating on the Supreme Personality of Godhead in all detail. One comes to the point of love of God, and that is the point of Bhakti Yoga. And at that point, he must actually render service to the Lord out of transcendental love. See, purpose of all the yogic systems, it can be Ashtanga Yoga, it can be Dhyana Yoga, Karma Yoga. The purpose is to render transcendental loving service to the Lord and his devotees. The living entity cannot experience the same quantity of enjoyment as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Analogy. This one I'll skip, but basically we need to know the Lord is the supreme enjoyer. We are enjoyed by the Lord, and that gives us pleasure. Serving the Lord, we don't need to worry about all the other demigods and my family, this my country, all that. I don't know if I supply food to the stomach, that is sufficient to take care of the whole body. Similarly, if I serve the Supreme Lord sincerely, it means I've taken care of all my ritualistic responsibilities that I have. I will still have to do my duties or responsibilities towards my family or whatever it is, but as an output of my service to the Lord, that is all taken care of. The living entity cannot enjoy life in opposition to the Supreme Lord. He has to devote all his activities with the Lord by practicing Bhakti Yoga. Okay, you can't go against the Lord. This Purusha, whom the individual soul must approach, is the eternal form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as Brahman and Paramatma. He is the transcendental chief personality, and his activities are all spiritual. Right? That Purusha, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam, right? So he is the Nitya of all the Nityas, and he is the consciousness of all everything that is going. We are the all or many, and he is the one supreme. We have seen this in many, many places, right? So Krishna himself says, Sarvasya Prabhu in the Chatushloki Bhagavad Gita. He says, I am the Supreme Lord. It is mentioned again many places. Whatever activities that the Lord does, they are considered transcendental, right? From his birth to his activities. Okay, if you understand that, Janma Karma Cha Me Divyam, Evam Yoveti Tattvataha, one who understands him Tattvataha in truth, Tyaktva Deham Punarjanmanaiti, Mameti. So Arjuna, right? So if you leave this body, you will actually go back to God and you don't need to worry about it. Oveti Tattvataha, it's mentioned again by Srila Prabhupada. Okay. Now let's come down to the time factor. We have 8 minutes. We will summarize the time factor. There was a question, what is about the time factor? Okay. Well, spiritually, if you talk about the spiritual world, there is time, but there is no influence of time. We have discussed this many times across many places, right? So uh, there's no sunset and the sunrise and the sunset that defines the day and the night. The day and the night can simultaneously happen. The seasons can simultaneously be present. It can rain in one place. At the same place, it can bear the fruits. It can have the sunshine. The sun is present. It's not sun's responsibility is not there here in the material world. Our whole calculation is based on time. So when we are there, then there is no fear. Time is the biggest thing that we are afraid of, right? So I'm also afraid. In next 7 minutes, I need to close this session, right? So the influence of time is very less. So let's actually look at the characteristics of life, time, which actually closes this chapter. Time causes transformation of various material manifestations. We understand the transformations happen because of time. The example given in the shloka in the purport is typically how the body from the childhood grows to various places. Another feature of the Supreme Lord, one who doesn't know this is afraid of time. Binna Drisham Bhayam. Right. So when you think, okay, time is going to be a problem, right? So Monday morning, 10 o'clock, I'm supposed to be at office, right? I'm supposed to submit this report, do this work, do that work. I need to pay my electricity bill. It's already 22nd. My mobile bill has come. My EMI I have to pay on the 5th. Everything is time based. Every sentence that he uses, time based. But when we surrender to the Lord, we should not be fearful. I will still do my duties. Time is something that everyone can take shelter of everyone, enters everyone's heart. The Lord, it's talking about the Lord here, is master of all masters and causes every being to be annihilated by another. Okay, here basically it means every living sustains on another living entity, right? So who's no one dear, no one is enemy or a friend. That's a factor of a time, right? So time is the same for all of us. Many times when they give motivational speaking, they say that, you know what, if you look at a football match, for example, and you can talk about or Pele and Maradona. Probably when we were growing up today, we have the Ronaldos and the Messis, or we know. So in the entire duration of the match, which is probably 45 into 2, right? So the two halves, the person would have handled the ball for less than 5 minutes, and that 5 minutes is what is the impact that he's created. Or we can take I give the sports example because I like the sports. If you take the example of Usain Bolt, he's won so many medals, so many Olympic gold medals. The entire duration of his running is probably less than 20 minutes. But to achieve that less than 10 seconds for 100 meters run to win the gold medal across multiple times, gold medals, he had practiced 8 to 10 hours every day. You're getting it. Similarly, we whatever sadhana we do, we should do it so nicely. We put all the effort that when we are in the situation, when we face the situation of, you know, deciding between the Lord and material, we are very clear that I need to look at the Lord, because why did we fall? That Jiva turned his face toward Bahirmukha Jiva Bhogavanchakare, right? So we turned our face away from the Lord. We next time we give an opportunity, we don't do it. Time waits for none of us. It gives the inspiration to those who have forgotten Him and destroys those who have forgotten. Okay, I've forgotten the Lord. I have this lifetime. Let me go back to the Lord. I don't care. I'm going to continue here. Both are my choices. Okay, all demigods controlling nature perform their function. So this example that when Lord Shri Krishna appeared here and was doing different leelas, all the demigods wanted to come and see him. So all of them were coming, and someone called the sun god, hey, Suriji, chalo, chalo, let's go and see Krishna is doing. He says, I am supposed to keep running around for the time for everyone to happen. If I leave my role and come, then I will be punished by the same person that you're going to meet. So the demigods do all their work fearing the time factor. Okay, all trees and creepers, proper seasons, the rivers flowing, the oceans overflowing, everything is time bound. Okay, skies provide space, accommodates all planets. Universal body expands into the seven coverings, right? So the creation, time bound, destruction is time bound. The Gunavataras carry on different activities. Gunavataras, your Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwar, they do the activities time bound. Lord doesn't break the concept of time. So time is unchanging, it's avyaya. It doesn't have a beginning and an end. We never know what began, what end, but every sentence that we use is time bound. Okay. And it causes everyone's birth, it causes everyone's end. There's also Antakala, there's also Adikrata. So the Adikala for everyone. Okay. Lastly, it dissolves the universe by destroying even the Lord of Death, Yamaraj. Even there is death for Yamaraj because his time will also come. And whenever we say Mera time aayega, it became very popular a few years back. We should understand that it's an opportunity. My time is my time to go back to Godhead. It's available for me. It's up to my grab. Right. So by time's influence, even the Lord of cruel death is killed in other words, all the demigods within the material world are temporary, like ourselves. Our lives last for 100 years at the most, and similarly, although their lives are millions and billions of years, the demigods are not eternal. No one lives eternally here, right? So we all know this. They are also scared of time. The phenomenal world is created, maintained, and destroyed by the finger signals of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, a devotee does not desire anything in this material world. A devotee desires only to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The servitude exists eternally. The Lord exists eternally. His servitor exists eternally. And the service exists eternally. What a wonderful conclusion. Right? So Srila Prabhupada says that you are eternal. The Supreme Lord is eternal. Your service, your bhakti, your love for Him is eternal. Understand this eternal. Get out of this. Dukhalayam ashashvatam. Ashashvatam is temporary place. Right? So thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purpose of the third canto, 29th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Explanation of Devotional Service by Lord Kapila. So I know we are just on time. We have 1 minute left. Thank you so much for joining. If anyone of you has any comment or anything to share with me, please go ahead. Any questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dhanyavad Pranam. So, there were two interesting points. One was the gradation of the jivas is very interesting, Prabhu, and how Lord Krishna is controlling the entire material nature is also very interesting. So, thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Yes, thank you all for joining in. There is class with Jagat Shakshi Prabhu at 8 a.m. So I'll rush back to temple. I'm hoping all of you are there. Uh, if you're not, if not physically there, then please do log in. He's a wonderful speaker, one of the best speakers that we have. One of the best for sure. Very entertaining as well. So please do hear. And I'm hoping many of you will join us for Panihati tomorrow. So we'll see all of you there. And the Rath Yatra coming up on 7th of July. Sherry Prabhu, over to you if there's any announcement. Yes, thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you
Grantaraj
so much,
Srimad
Prabhu.
Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Dandavat Pranam.
Yes.
Hare